Number 1.
Byers Baisden departed from her residence on 3rd Street and Central Avenue in Highland City, Florida between 6 o'clock and 7 p.m. on April 2, 1965. She was headed to the now-defunct Chatterbox Bar, which was located near the Polk County Parkway southbound Highway 98 intersection near Eaton Park. Byers Baisden was driving her light green two-door 1959 Chevrolet Coupe with the Florida license plate number 5W21118. A witness saw Byers Baisden in the establishment's parking lot sometime during the evening hours. She was accompanied by an unidentified Caucasian male who appeared to be assisting Byers Baisden with her car's mechanical problems. Byers Baisden has never been heard from again. Her car disappeared with her and has never been located. Her family reported her missing that same day. Investigators continue to search for her, but they have never had a suspect in her disappearance. She was divorced with 2 young children when she vanished and made a living as a waitress. Byers Baisden's loved ones say she had no enemies and it would be uncharacteristic of her to abandon her children, who moved in with her sister and brother-in-law after her disappearance. Some have suggested that Byers Baisden's disappearance is related to the disappearance of Mary Cook, who vanished from Highland City in November 1970 and was never found. Both Cook and Byers Baisden are the mothers of 2 children each, both were in their 20s, and they resided on the same street. However, investigators do not think the 2 women knew each other and have not been able to link their disappearances. Foul play is suspected in Byers Baisden's case. She is considered to be missing under suspicious circumstances.
Number 2.
Cable was last seen at her home in the 1700 block of Owen Drive in Clearwater, Florida on December 14, 2013. She was supposed to start a new job at a restaurant on December 16, but never showed up for her first shift and has never been heard from again. She was reported missing in January by a friend who hadn't been able to contact her for weeks. When questioned by police, Cable's roommate, Jerry Gaston, said she'd moved out to go live with relatives. However, none of Cable's family, who all live out of state, had heard from her, and she always contacted them at Christmas time. Cable has a minor criminal record and was once ordered into treatment for substance abuse, but hasn't had any contact with law enforcement since 2013. Authorities have classified her disappearance as suspicious, and their main suspect in her case is Gaston. He made contradictory statements about her disappearance and eventually stopped cooperating with the investigation. The police found unspecified evidence at their home on Owen Drive. Gaston died of natural causes in 2016. Cable's case remains unsolved.
Number 3.
Kane was last seen at her home in the 100 block of Southeast Gilliland Street in Navy Point, Florida on May 11, 1990. Her 10-year-old son stated he went to bed at 9 p.m. and didn't hear anything during the night. When he woke up on the morning of May 12, his mother was gone, but her purse was still inside. She had usually left for work by the time her son woke up, so her absence wasn't unusual. Not realizing anything was wrong, her son went to school. Kane was reported missing at 1:30 p.m. on May 12. She has never been heard from again. Authorities found bloodstains and drag marks and bloodstains on the porch and walkway of her home. Bloody boot prints were present, along with evidence that someone had tried to clean up inside the house. At 2:40 p.m., her car was found near the Navy Point Bridge in Bayou Grande, a few blocks from her home. There were small drops of blood in the trunk, and the driver's seat was pulled back, indicating someone taller than Kane was the last person to drive the car. The blood in Kane's vehicle and home was identified as hers. Gary Bernard Breeze, Kane's ex-husband, was charged with her murder in 1992. Photos of Breeze are posted with this case summary. He allegedly told 6 people he had killed Kane, giving different stories as to what exactly had happened and stating he was sure he wouldn't be punished because there was no body. Another of Breeze's ex-wives described him as a violent man, and Kane's cousin testified that 2 months before she disappeared, Kane was raped by her ex-husband. Breeze was convicted of second-degree murder in 1993 and sentenced to 40 years in prison. He is still incarcerated. He had a prior criminal record for sexual offenses against young boys. Kane had been a civilian worker at the Pensacola Naval Air Station for about 9 years prior to her disappearance. Foul play is strongly suspected in her case due to the circumstances involved.
Number 4.
Campbell lived with a roommate on Ward Basin Road in Milton, Florida at the time of his disappearance. She stated she last saw him at 10:30 p.m. on March 6, 2016, and when she came home the next day he was gone and the home was in disarray. There was mud tracked on the floor, the side door was wide open, and the refrigerator door was also open, with vials of Campbell's insulin lying on the floor. Campbell's cellular phone was in the bathroom with the battery pulled out, and his dog had been left out. It's uncharacteristic of Campbell to leave his dog out, he'd normally put it in its kennel or shut it in the bedroom. Campbell was last seen 2 days later, March 8, between 2 o'clock and 4 p.m., at the Circle K on the corner of Stewart Street and Munson Highway, 3 miles from his home. He arrived there looking disheveled and unkempt, carrying one backpack and wearing another. When he left, he didn't have either of the backpacks. He has not been seen or heard from since. The police were later able to recover both of Campbell's backpacks. They contained several documents, including his electronic benefits transfer card, his social security card, a copy of his father's birth certificate, and 2 blank bank deposit forms. There were also some diabetic medical supplies, clothing, food and survival materials. In the year prior to his disappearance, according to Campbell's loved ones, he became involved with people who were bad influences and started using drugs. He went into substance abuse treatment but soon began using again. His sister believes he may have begun using methamphetamine. Methamphetamine would have had a very bad effect on his diabetes. In January 2016, while he was pulling out of the same Circle K he later disappeared from, he crashed his car. No one was injured in the accident, but his car was totaled, and Campbell was rushed to the hospital for what was termed diabetic seizures. He lost his driver's license as a result of the seizure diagnosis, lost his job because he was unable to get to work, and applied for disability benefits. In the ensuing 2 months before he went missing, because he was out of work, he was having severe financial problem and lost a great deal of weight. His family thinks drugs may have been a factor in his disappearance. They stated that when they checked Campbell's home after he went missing, it was obvious that it had been used as a drug den for some time, and they found a makeshift meth lab in the attic. Campbell's family is suspicious of his roommate, Tania Rios, and think she knows more about his disappearance than she has disclosed. She forged Campbell's father's name on 7 of his checks after Campbell disappeared and was arrested on multiple charges as a result. After bailing out of jail, she went on the run and was a fugitive for over a year before being arrested in California. Prior to his disappearance, Campbell had been threatened and had talked about arming himself for protection. He told one friend he wanted to go off the grid. However, his family doesn't think he would have gone for this long without letting them know he was all right. He is considered missing under suspicious circumstances, and his case remains unsolved.
Number 5.
Linda was last seen in Crestview, Florida on September 25, 1984. Her parents dropped her off at her home on Kingston Road at 8:30 p.m. About half an hour later, neighbors heard screams coming from her home, then a car speeding away. Carroll was reported missing the next day later when she didn't show up for work at Showell Farms Incorporated. She has never been heard from again. Linda never picked up her last paycheck. Her purse and shoes were missing from her home. Her bed had been stripped and the sheets were missing, and there were clumps of hair scattered. A note addressed to Linda's brother was on the counter. It said she'd gone to Baker, Florida to do laundry and that he should wait for her. He was supposed to visit her the day of her disappearance but didn't make it. Linda was going through a divorce and custody battle at the time of her disappearance. Dennis Wayne Carroll, her husband of 5 years, had left her in August and taken their 2 young children, which upset her, as she was a devoted mother. Dennis admitted he stopped her home on the night of September 25. He said she wasn't home, so he left and went to his mother's house in Meridian, Mississippi. Dennis is a suspect in Linda's disappearance, but he was never charged in her case, and he died of cancer in 2014. Linda was living alone at her Kingston Road home, which didn't have electricity. She lived frugally because she was saving money for a divorce attorney. She was working at her first job and had gotten a driver's license, although she didn't yet own a car. Her family describes her as an introvert with few friends. Her disappearance remains unsolved and foul play is suspected.
Number 6.
Carter was last seen at the home she shared with her daughter in the 1500 block of McLean Drive in Plant City, Florida on December 16, 2011. She disappeared along with her girlfriend, Kelly Moriarty, and Moriarty's car. A photo of Moriarty is posted with this case summary. On December 20, the car was found abandoned on State Road 62 in Parrish, Florida. There was no sign of either of the women. Moriarty was reported missing on January 27, and Carter was reported missing on January 29. Moriarty left her Bradenton, Florida apartment intact, with Christmas decorations and unopened gifts inside. Her family hadn't seen or spoken with her since Thanksgiving. It wasn't unusual of her and Carter to drop out of sight for extended time periods, which is why their families were unconcerned at first. On December 27, one of Moriarty's legs washed ashore in St. Petersburg, Florida. Authorities believe it had been in the water for only a couple of days. It was identified in March 2012. The rest of her body hasn't been located, and authorities aren't sure what caused her death or how her leg was severed. She was 38 years old when she died. Carter's husband died in 2005, and she began seeing Moriarty in 2009. Carter's daughter described the relationship as passionate and volatile and said the two women frequently argued. She hasn't used her financial accounts or her phone since she went missing. The circumstances of her disappearance are unclear, but there's concern for her welfare. Her case remains unsolved.